Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I had a whole bunch of people send me this article from Ars Technica, and they do great work over there. Beth Mole wrote this about United Healthcare using AI model with a 90% error rate to deny care according to a lawsuit. So a lawsuit's been filed against the healthcare company, and the lawsuit alleges that they're using an AI model that has a 90% error rate and that it just so happens to be denying a lot of coverage. And that's the gravamen of the lawsuit. So United Healthcare is the largest health insurance company in the U.S., and they're alleged to be using a deeply flawed AI algorithm to override doctor judgments, wrongfully deny critical health coverage to elderly patients, and more. It's resulted in patients being kicked out of rehab programs and care facilities too early, forcing them to drain their life savings to obtain needed care that should be covered under government-funded Medicare Advantage plans, for instance. And so, it used to be that AI or algorithms simply decided, what the next ad on Facebook was going to be, or perhaps what video you should watch next on YouTube. But when it starts making life and death decisions about your health, then you might want to get concerned. So the lawsuit was filed this week in the U.S. District Court for the District of Minnesota. The lawsuit's brought by the estates of two people who passed away who were denied health coverage by United Health. The suit also seeks class action status for others similarly situated, of which there may be tens of thousands across the country. The lawsuit lands alongside an investigation by Stat News, that largely backs the claims in the lawsuits. The investigation's findings stem from internal documents and communications the outlet obtained, as well as interviews with former employees of NaviHealth, which is a subsidiary of United Health that developed the AI algorithm called NH Predict. By the end of my time at NaviHealth, I realized I'm not an advocate, I'm just a moneymaker for the company, says a woman who's an occupational therapist and former NaviHealth case manager. It's all about money and data points. It takes the dignity out of patients, and I hated that. The AI-based denials, according to the lawsuit, started when United Health began using NH Predict at least as early as November of 2019 and is still using it. The algorithm estimates how much post-acute care a patient on a Medicare Advantage plan will need after an acute injury, illness, or event like a fall or a stroke. Post-acute care can include things like therapy and skilled care from home health agencies, skilled nursing homes, or inpatient rehab centers. It's unclear how NH Predict works exactly because, of course, it's artificial intelligence. But it reportedly estimates post-acute care by pulling information from a database containing medical cases of 6 million patients. NaviHealth case managers plug in certain information about a given patient, and the algorithm spits out estimates based on similar patients in the database. So they might put in things like age, living situation, physical functions, and so on. The algorithm estimates medical needs, length of stay, and a discharge date. So the algorithm predicts when you'll get better and when they can stop paying. But they noted to Stat that the algorithm does not account for many relevant factors in a patient's health and recovery time, including comorbidities and things that occur during stays like if they develop pneumonia while in the hospital or catch COVID in a nursing home. According to the Stat investigation in the lawsuit, the estimates are often draconian. For instance, on a Medicare Advantage plan, patients who stay in a hospital for 3 days are typically entitled to up to 100 days of covered care in a nursing home. But with NH Predict, patients rarely stay in nursing homes for more than 14 days before receiving payment denials from the insurance company. When patients or their doctors requested to see the reports, United Health has denied the requests, telling them the information is proprietary. Can't show that to you. That's our information. When prescribing physicians disagree with the determinations of how much post-acute care the patients need, their judgments are overridden. And I've heard that complaint a lot, not just with United Health, but with other healthcare companies, that a doctor will say this is necessary. And the insurance company will go, no, it's not. The doctor says, well, I'm a doctor, and I'm, in essence, looking at the patient right now. I say it's necessary. And a case manager in a cubicle in another state's going, no, it's not necessary. They're looking at a file. They're looking at paper. They're not looking at the patient. And, oh, by the way, they're not a doctor. They're not a doctor. The use of faulty AI is not new for the healthcare industry. While chat bots and image generators are currently grabbing headlines and causing alarm, the healthcare industry in the U.S. has a long record of problematic AI use, including establishing algorithmic racial bias in patient care. But what sets this situation apart is that dubious estimates seem to be a feature and not a bug for United Health. And so this is quite a lengthy article. But one of the things that they pointed out in here is that there's a process whereby you can appeal something that they say. So they say, we're not going to pay for this. And you argue and you appeal it, and the appeal goes through and you win. And they say, no, okay, that's fine. We're going to override their decision to deny your coverage. And a couple of days later, they just deny it again. You see, it turns out that they can issue denials all along the way. And if you want to override them, you have to appeal them all, each and every one of them. So there are all kinds of stories in here. For instance, the family of the plaintiff, his first name is Dale. He suffered a stroke in October of 2022 and was admitted to a hospital. While there, his doctors referred him to a skilled nursing home and determined he needed at least 100 days of post-acute care. After 20 days, the health insurance company denied further coverage. His family appealed the denial twice, overturning it on the second appeal after doctors reviewed his medical records. But after 40 days at that nursing home, United Health denied his coverage again and refused to provide a reason. Instead, we're just denying it. The family continued trying to appeal the denial, but were unsuccessful. Meanwhile, they had to pay $70,000 out of their own pockets to cover his stay there. And in June, he was moved to an assisted living facility where he passed away on October 11th. And so the sad part about this is that I understand that insurance companies are businesses, and they are there to make money. They don't make a profit, they'll go out of business, they won't be there anymore. So they have to make a profit. Question is, how big of a profit do you make, et cetera, et cetera. And a bigger concern I have is that if somebody is in need, dire need of medical help, an insurance company ought to be paying it, but they don't pay it. Well, somebody else is going to be on the hook for that money. And so you've got a loved one in the hospital, and they are in dire need of medical care, and the insurance company denies the claim for coverage. And you wind up fighting that and filing appeals and hearings and paperwork and nightmare of just bureaucracy going back and forth. You're doing that while your loved one's in the hospital. And now, here's the thing. I've never gone through this kind of a nightmare on my own before, okay? I've been lucky that way. I have known people very close to me who've spent time in the hospital dealing with quite serious medical issues. And I can remember how emotional it was when I was simply the observer, the family member, the bystander, and I was there visiting somebody in a hospital. And it was difficult just to do that. And it was difficult for all of the close family members to do that. And then you add into the mix, oh, by the way, somebody who's in charge of the family has got to go do battle with an insurance company who's denying claims for medical coverage. And you think about that, and it's don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things in life that you have to deal with that could just happen, okay? Bad things happening. You got to fight with an insurance company because you filed a claim. Could be over your house, over your car, over your business, or anything. But there's also just other situations where you deal with a nightmare, some kind of nightmare. You're fighting with somebody over something, winds up in court, whatever. Do that while your loved one is in the hospital, quite possibly dying. And you realize how painful this can be. So the concern I have here is artificial intelligence is a fascinating thing. I've seen some of the things that it can do, and I'm blown away. I absolutely never would have imagined it could do that in my lifetime. So I thought, okay, wow, that's pretty cool that it'll do all of these things. But we've seen some misuse of it. So for instance, for some odd reason, attorneys keep using it to write briefs. And they forgot to include in the prompt, oh, by the way, use real cases, could you? And so we've had a couple examples of attorneys who got in trouble for letting it write briefs for made-up cases. And so now here, and I'm not saying these are all the same AI. I'm simply saying AI in general Okay? And so now the allegation is that United Health is using an AI model, and the lawsuit alleges that it has a 90% error rate. But as I jokingly said in a video the other day, which way do you think the errors go? Towards paying claims or towards denying claims? Oh, what are the odds? It denies claims too often. That's the allegation. So if this is true, it's a very serious problem. But if this is true, they're also making a lot of money by not paying claims. And again, healthcare companies have to make money. The question is, how much do they have to make, and who's making those decisions? I'm just as bothered by somebody who sits in a cubicle who's not a doctor and looks at a file and goes, oh, this person doesn't need this. Meanwhile, the doctor who's on the ground, as they say, in his office or hospital, looking at a patient with his own eyes, going, this patient needs this. I trust the doctor's opinion over the cubicle sitter's opinion. So, great story. Beth Mole wrote it. It's actually quite lengthy. Ars Technica published it. They do great work also. United Health uses AI model with 90% error rate to deny care, according to the lawsuit, and they are the largest health insurer in the U.S. Questions or comments? Put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Never forget the magic you believed in as a child.